Women in politics in the Pacific don't in any way correspond with their percentage of the population. In Samoa, the wife of FAUMUINA MATAAFA, the first Prime Minister of Samoa, Masiofo Laulu Fetawi Malemau FIAME MATAAFA, became a politician in her own right as a Member of Parliament in the 1980s. She was Consulate General to New Zealand and also the first Samoan female scholarship to New Zealand.
I was spoiled because I grew up in that political environment, you know, and I suppose I always know I would end up in Parliament, you know. I was interested in politics.
One of Taui's skills is oratory, you know, and she probably has that a lot more than I would. She's a much more straightforward speaker.
FIAME would just ignore some of the things, where with me, I wouldn't ignore anybody who speak out of place in Parliament, you know. And as a Matai, I would get up and say, that was out of order. I almost say your parents should teach you how to.
Well, I think, you know, I mean, Taui trained as a teacher at Ardmore Teachers Training College. And I think quite a number of people who were in Parliament, when she was in Parliament, used to be her students. And I think they always had that sort of relationship with her. You know, once they saw Taui, they didn't necessarily see her as another representative or a whaipule. They saw her as their teacher. And she was constantly telling them off. My
role as a diplomat, yeah, it was also intensified in Samoa as a Matai, you know, and of course this is what I enjoy in my life. Lefa Samoa, I enjoy fighting in speeches with Makai, you know, and it's great. It's real privilege and it's honor for me. And there are not many women in Samoa who are like that.
Masiofo Laulu Fetawi's work advocating the status of Samoan woman is a legacy that her daughter has continued, following in her footsteps as a Matai elected to government. FIAME NAOMI is currently the Minister of Education, Sports and Culture.
My friends in New Zealand that I went to school with, you know, when we meet up, they're always saying to me, when are you going to get a real job? You know, they're sort of going into politics and so forth. But, you know, that's just what I've been interested in. And I think there's a very natural progression from being a Matai to being a whaipule, you know, and so forth.
Although FIAME is one of only 6 female MPs in Samoa, for her, being a woman hasn't meant undue pressure.
It's really a non-issue in some ways in Samoa because you're there by virtue of being a Matai because, you know, and if there's one thing that men understand, you know, it's position and hierarchy and rank and stuff like that. So, you know, as guys, they understand that. So they're not about to sort of say, well, you know, that Matai is not so good because they're a woman Matai. Because, you know, a Matai is just a Matai.
In the Cook Islands, while there have been few women in Parliament, women have made significant inroads in many aspects of the public and private sector. Over the years, these are but a few of the women who are valued for their contributions to the social and political landscape in the face of a male-dominated leadership system.
I believe Parliament should be 50-50, men, women. And the troubles we've had because of men. You know, they got big egos. They spend their time arguing and playing games. And whereas with a few more women in Parliament, I think things would change.
Pacific people first journeyed this well-travelled road to New Zealand in the 1950s, after New Zealand's colonial governance of islands like Samoa. High on the agenda was work and educational opportunities for the next generation.
They said it was a land of temptations.
A land of complications.
Temptations.
Of temptations.
It's a hard life, unless, of course, you can work your way around it. You've got to stand on your own 2 feet, otherwise you'll get pushed around.
I came by the Matua
as a ship. It was hard, very hard. I don't know who I turned to. I got 2 brothers I don't know how to talk to, you know, what I want. I remember I often write to my mum, I got no pillowcases, things like that. But after I stand on my feet and be good citizen and work and think the way our father taught us.
The fact that so many women were alone, you know, they were doing things alone, and we are not that kind of people. We like to do things together, we like to be with other people, and somehow it gives us a kind of strength.
Dear Father, bring our hearts and minds together.
Because the needs of Pacific Island women in their own country is quite different to their needs here. I saw and understood very well that in this new land, they were almost lost in the feeling that they were the mother, the wife, the hard worker in the family, but they really had not very great role in the society of New Zealand.
The Pacifica Women's Collective was set up in the 1970s as an essential social support network for the fast-growing community of Pacific women in New Zealand, meeting their changing needs in challenging new times. There have been many inspirational women who have been at the forefront of Pacifica over the years, and their dedication in keeping the collective alive is reflected in the growing numbers today. Hard-hitting issues like shocking Pacific health statistics, child abuse and AIDS awareness are a focus today, as well as the ongoing challenges of low levels of employment opportunities for Pacific women, where lack of training and time out taken to raise large families has impacted on their options.
Finding a job is very hard. As you know, the pay equity is a problem or a big issue out here in New Zealand. We're talking about Pacific Island women and Maori. They are mainly in the low-paid work where they are currently at. So when we first came in, we all started off picking fruits at farms, but now they have moved from that to being cleaners, but now they are more well-established or moving into the trend now is into the aged care sector.
I think it's important for any woman who rises to the top to be aware of whose shoulders she stands on, right? So whether it's women who have worked in the service industry in this country and have organized in unions, or whether it's, you know, women who have helped, you know, the work, like the work that Pacifica has done to help immigrant women settle in, you know, even if it's a TEAIWA collective, you know, all of that collective work allows younger women to rise to the top.
Education, as always, is seen as the key to success. And leading academic TERESIA TEAIWA sees it as vital that Pacific families are more supportive of their children's education.
We've got this real ambivalence about education. We want people to succeed on one hand, regardless of whether it's our daughters or our sons, but you don't want them to be too whiapoto. You don't want them to be too smart. Majority of Pacific students at this university are women. I think they're doing well. Of the students who make it to university, I think we have a good retention and completion rate.
And completing your education is a big concern for those in the field of health, where numbers continue to be unacceptably low for Pacific students getting into med school, particularly female. As Chief Ministry Consultant for Pacific Health, new mum Debbie Ryan is worried about the low ratio of female Pacific health professionals.
When we were growing up, all you could be was a doctor and a nurse. I mean, now the opportunities are endless. We need to encourage our young ones to be choosing the sciences, understanding that it isn't just about being a doctor or that health management, that the whole scope of professions is something that we need to be represented in.
Pacific people continue to die younger than the rest of the population due to high rates of infectious diseases like meningitis, bred from the poverty factors of overcrowded, substandard housing. And then there are the lifestyle diseases due to diet and smoking.
If you have a look at our young girls, for example, the rates of obesity are much, much higher than for other New Zealanders, and it means that in their lifetime they're going to be paying the cost of that. The other issues are accessing services like screening services, mammography screening for breast cancer, cervical screening for cervical cancer. The services do exist in New Zealand, but there is very clear evidence that Pacific women have lower rates of access.
There are few Pacific women at policy-making level in their professions. Making big inroads at the highest decision-making level is our first Pacific woman MP and Minister, Lua Manuvao Winnie Laban.
I think our women could have been in Parliament a long time ago, but perhaps there wasn't the access or the encouragement. When I first got into Parliament, I chose to go on the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee because I felt it was important to understand the economy, to learn how the budget operates and to work in the tax area. And I arrived for my first meeting and I actually went into this meeting and some of the people said, oh, the Social Services Committee is just down the passage. And I said, well, I'm actually here for the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee. I felt there was a need for us to get into those hard areas. It's been really interesting with some of the matais, some of the church leaders, and sometimes there's been this thing, oh, well, she's sort of born in New Zealand and she's sort of Palangi, she doesn't understand, or her language. But I've really worked very hard and speak Samoan a lot now because I have to. And it's fighting that whole prejudice of if anyone says to me, you don't belong, and I say, well, here is my ngafa, here is my genealogy. I come from all these sacred families and villages like every other Samoan, and you have no right to deny me a place or a voice.
I truly believe that if it runs through your blood, then you are Samoan, and you don't need to prove that to anyone. You and I both have seen many, many people who are fluent in their language but not as committed to their people or to the needs of our people.
And the needs of the Pacific community are what Ida MALOSI is addressing as the first female Pacific judge in New Zealand, admitted to the bar in 2002. Her impressive list of leading feats have included founding the first all-female, all-Pacific law firm, Kinga Lofi Vai MALOSI. She was the first Pacific District Inspector for Mental Health and Pacific Youth Advocate Council for Child.
If you think there is nothing you can do to support me as a judge, you are so wrong. I cannot do what I am about to set out to do if I don't have hope for young people and the families of this country. You can give me that hope. I believe my calling as a judge will make a difference, and I so believe that because I have seen the family court in action. I have seen that it does make a difference, and a positive difference to people's lives, and I'm extremely proud of that.
Pacific Islanders are internationally famous for their athletic prowess, and there have been some outstanding successes in sport for Pacific women. But the opportunities for women to be fully professional on the sports field in New Zealand are still few and far between compared to their male counterparts.
For me, in terms of gender inequalities with our sport, it's something that's always going to be there and will never be removed. I mean, you can just see how much, we take rugby, for example, how much coverage they get on television, and it's a huge amount, and you get even grassroots rugby on TV, and we've got, our Silver Ferns who are world champs, and you'd probably only get 3 or 4 tests the whole year on telly.
I'm a footballer, and I love rugby league, and I love train. I think I train just as hard as the guys would, and I think that they are so fortunate that they get to have a job to do something that they really enjoy, like play rugby league. If I had a dream job, ultimately that would be my dream job, to be a professional rugby league player.
But one woman who succeeded against all the odds is gold medal winning world champion discus thrower Beatrice FAUMUINA, who was recently celebrated with a medal of a different sort, a New Zealand Order of Merit Award for services to athletics.
This, without a doubt, would have to be the #1 spot. I mean, I've been world champion, Commonwealth champion, but that doesn't compare in comparison when you come home and receive recognition from fellow people in New Zealand. I don't even know how to measure it. And just the mere thought that some people out there thought, no, we want to say thank you to Beatrice, really it's about me really saying thank you to them.
I was a shy, demure type, inhibited, insecure type of girl, a pearl of no great price.
Samoan pearl Mavis Rivers was described by Frank Sinatra as having the purest voice in jazz. She's just one of many Pacific female stars who have shone in the musical field in New Zealand and internationally.
I have rung the bell.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Yandall sisters.
And continuing the trail that Mavis blazed are the Samoan Supremes, otherwise known as the Yandall sisters.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, making the cutest that I've ever.
In the late 70s, early 80s, there was lots of local entertainment programs. So we featured in a lot of those programs, and I think our name and our faces sort of became a little bit well known. And then we started touring with the likes of Sir Howard Morrison, John Rolls, Daniel Byrne, people who came from overseas as well.
He was Spain's trumpet from my Chicago way. He had a boot style, no one else could play. He was a top man at his craft. But then his number came up, but he was gone with the draft. He's in the army now, I've blown a reveille. He's the boogie boogie bugle by Company B.
The cabaret was very strong in those days, so it's the flowing gowns and the clean look and petals. So we used to go on a Friday night and have our hair done every Friday night and lie in the bed with toilet paper around. All these petals can't move, yeah.
Everything just was a whole big party and a buzz. And everybody...
You can tell she's been to a few parties.
There were heaps of nightclubs, there were heaps of RSAs, there were heaps of everything.
Sugar in the morning, sugar in the evening, sugar at supper time.
People want to go sort of au naturel now, and just look the way they want to look, and that's pretty cool too. Yeah. Because you see their real personalities in their dress rather than sort of being a model of a style that's, in some cases didn't suit us at all. Yeah. Boy.
Another Pacific diva who's been through some style changes over the years is Annie Crummer.
Back in my day, my school of Pacific, is people like myself and like Mona Maniapoto, her and I, we really struggled to get the colour of our sound to be not really recognised but accepted, and it was quite a struggle back then.
Pacific musicians are more visible in the mainstream than ever before. Fijian songstress Brooke Fraser has topped the charts and taken out 2 TUI awards.
It's all felt really natural and really like I don't feel like I'm having to pretend to be anyone else or be anything other than who I am. I really do feel like this is what I was born to do. Especially it's kind of a bit nerve-wracking when you put out an album which really is just kind of ripping yourself open and going, here I am, and you put that out there for people to criticise and judge and love and hate and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it was quite a big personal risk.
Throw me a lifeline.
I think someone said something about Fiji and all the Fijians just go, yeah! And it just felt really cool because I've never really felt like I belonged anywhere before in terms of nationality, but it was really cool to feel like there was a people that wanted to claim me,
And the voices of Pacific women are being heard across many other creative forms in the world of visual and performing arts.
Only poor and Makiva people from the village wear that coconut oil. They pour it all over themselves like it was Coco Chanel.
Every single time you stand on stage as an actor with other Pacific Island women, it just, like, we just need to represent.
For Ratuman artist Sofia Tekela-Smith, representing her visions of Pacific people has been in a series of fiberglass heads.
I decided that I wanted to make something to actually hang the jewellery on, and I've used a lot of the black heads, those African heads that I've found at markets, but they kind of don't really mean anything to me personally. So what I decided to do was to actually get together a whole bunch of really beautiful people and get their heads remade.
And the dream that you did to, oh why can't I?
These heads are people that I know. What makes them really special is that they're Pacific Island people, they're people of the Pacific, Oceanians.
Trouble melts like a lemon drops.
In making good the migrant promise of our ancestors and fulfilling the dreams of those who have gone before, the challenges for Pacific women to make their mark have been many. The definition of success is seen in many different ways.
I've done what I meant to do, and all my training and all the time I put in has actually paid off.
If you really believe that, you know, that's where your talent is and that's where your heart wants to take you, then you know, you've got to pursue it, give it a try.
Our work and our dreams are very much centred on our community's well-being.
I'm sick with the flavour of the thick chocolate stuff, but a pessimistic attitude can get in the way. So when the night comes, all you want to do is
no stopping me. If I want to do something, then I can just sit down and do what I want to do.
We can really shake a booty, shaking all our troubles away, doing the duty, going on, keeping on till the break of dawn. Come every Friday.
It's just a waste of time if you're just doing nothing and sitting at home. You have to get out there and show your talent.
At the door, cause everywhere we go it's like a show. You gotta watch your back because you never know. Rolling in the neighborhood. In the neighborhood. In the neighborhood. In the neighborhood.
While your body and mind might be crushed at times, never let your spirit be broken. It is without a doubt our most greatest weapon.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.